The first one I'd like to introduce is Peter Sharley. Peter and his wife Angela purchased a derelict 201-acre farm in 1993. They now proudly protect a heritage agreement while managing a productive cattle and luxury self-contained accommodation business on their Hindmarsh Valley property. Please welcome Peter.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. I don't know how you're meant to condense 30 years of hard work into 10 minutes, so it'll be a cook's tour, and that's not the first one.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Look, so I'll just make a series of dot points. I'm sure there'll be time for questions, or you can approach me later if you've got particular questions that are of interest to you. We run a couple of properties, but I wouldn't say we're big cattle farmers. We're small cattle farmers, but we're trying to balance our property back up. We bought, as you heard, a very derelict farm, and not only did the house look like this, the paddocks looked like this, the whole thing looked like this. We had degraded creeks, bare mud areas, weeds in the paddocks, scrub with cattle in the scrub. We had poor fences, and basically the farm had been share farmed to death, and those people who run farms who are share farmed would understand what I'm talking about. But so we, back in the olden days, this is before we had computers, hard to imagine, we had to buy contour maps from the government to plan what to do. So we put contour maps over the top, we put weed maps, but there were people involved. I paid for a farm consultant because I didn't know much about it. And we had someone from the primary industries who was a re-veg consultant, and myself, and the three of us sat in a cold caravan and replanned the whole farm. That is a master plan. I can only suggest that people who are starting off, if you don't have a master plan, you've got no chance of getting to the other end. That doesn't say that the plan doesn't change from week to week. So this is before Trees for Life started direct seeding. So we hired a consultant company to come and direct seed 20 kilometres of direct seeding of native local species. Trees for Life do this now, by the way. But you can see there we had to spray, re-fence, do the whole thing. That's a few years ago on our property, but it looks completely different, absolutely completely different. Look, you can see there that we've got a central area of, I'll try and find that. We've got a central area of native scrub, which is now heritage listed. We've gone through that process. We've planted areas, probably about 20,000 trees, to protect the central heritage area and provide fingers of nature corridors coming out of the central area. And we've incidentally put up a house that's worth living in. But so that's the result of some hard work, shall I say. Look. We'll just keep going. What about our cows? Look, you know, we don't overgraze, but we've planted trees such that they get shelter from shade, shelter from the winter. We have grazing practices now such that the productivity of the whole farm is greatly increased. I might say that the farm productivity is still a work in progress. You know, I don't think anyone professes to get to the end of any of these journeys in their lifetime. But I'd have to say that for those who were at a great talk last week at Lobethal dealing with the wellness of your soil and what I apologise to what I call real cattle farmers, but to actually continue to thrash your soil the same way you've been doing it for a generation is actually not the right thing to do. if you change in a regenerative sort of fashion, fancy being able to feed your cows without putting fertiliser on it. That's where we need to go. Anyone who's paid a fertiliser this bill will know that is not where we should be going. Look, we've revegetated the whole creek lines. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But we've actually, this dam was, cows were in it, and I mean seriously in it. So you've got to get them out. But this is a slide just to remind me that the future is the younger generation. Our kids have come along this journey with us. They weren't born, basically, when we started this. And you've got to educate them. You've got to bring them along, because if you go, who's left behind? So you've got to feed them information. And you've got to change your ways of how you do things. When we started taking things seriously, the weeds in the paddock, the only way of really starting to get a hold of the weeds was silage. I'm not recommending spending $1 million on plastic every year, but that's the sort of thing you have to do to start with. It may not be something you do long term, but that was successful in actually attempting to gain some control of weeds in the paddock. This is in the heritage listed scrub, and for those people who have got problems with weeds and particularly gorse, this will give you central crushing chest pain, because this is what the remnant of gorse on my property that I haven't got to yet. I've bled to death some days trying to kill gorse, and I've said to someone earlier today, you never win against gorse. You will get in front, but it is a year thing. It is a lifelong commitment. The seeds last for 20 years on the ground. It's a shocker. But anyway, because we're heritage listed, for the first time in our lifetime, we've got a grant to help. I can bring someone else in for the first time in 30 years to help me with gorse. So thank you to Claire and all those people who helped us with that. I've got to put this up here. Planting trees, I love planting trees. I spend more time making tree guards than I do planting trees. So I just had to put this up here. You know, the kids come and help plant trees, but they don't help make tree guards. I do that. Anyway, but that's well worth doing. The kangaroos and the rabbits will kill anything that you plant by hand and don't protect. Kangaroos are a real problem for us. The farmers around us hate kangaroos. We need to deal with them in a responsible fashion in consultation with Mark. But things are out of balance and we need to rebalance a whole stack of things. But doing all this has actually opened our eyes to sharing our information and our pleasure with other people. So we've branched off into tourism. On the bottom part of our property is Old Coach Road Estate. And this was derelict when we took it over, by the way, but it is luxury self-contained accommodation. And we take this opportunity to work with Mark about educating all of the people who come about our Indigenous culture. So that's another aspect that we can bring in to do it. I have to say, the number of birds that have come back to our property since we've been there is amazing and rewarding. The birds weren't there. They just weren't there. Now they're all over the place, and it is really special. But there's work to be done. You're never finished. This is on the bottom part of our property, and I just put it up to show this dam is in the process. This watercourse, we're fencing it off, and basically we'll revegetate that creek line. Always work to do. But I'd have to say, that the benefits to us have been enormous. And I throw in there well-being, mental health, doing the right thing. It is soft, fuzzy, wuzzy stuff, but the people who do it will know exactly what I'm talking about. In summary, we are looking at a balanced farm, cattle farming, regeneration, and tourism all in together. I don't think that it's right to say I'm all cattle farming and I'm not worried about anything else. I think these other thoughts actually will improve or can improve or are improving our ability to be a cattle farmer. So I sell that to you as what we're doing is improving our cattle production. And I thank you very much.